Hi, my name is Camille Gladden, and I am a senior bonner here at Sewanee. I was born in State College, Pennsylvania, but spent the majority of my life in a small college town about 4 hours away from Sewanee called Oxford, Mississippi. Despite calling Oxford my home, my family and I never really felt that to be true. At a young age, I was clarifying that although I lived in Mississippi, it was very important to me that people knew I wasn't actually from here, and I did not claim it as my own. My parents, being from large, urban, and progressive areas, often uttered similar discontent. They made every effort to let us see the world, allowing us to form opinions about it for ourselves, exposing us to cultures, people, and places that broadened my worldview at a young age. For a while, I had a hard time connecting with other kids, not grasping the nuances and tradition of the Deep South. Attending a classical Christian school for the majority of my childhood did not help this feeling. I had more or less the same 13 kids in my class from 1st grade to 7th grade, and every single one of them, as well as each of my teachers, looked like me. This denied me a perspective that I would not recognize for years. I became a very confused little girl, knowledgeable of what was out there, but not able to see it from where I was currently standing. When my dad was given a research opportunity in Germany the summer after my 6th grade year, I was given access to it. To an 11-year-old me, that summer was the greatest adventure I'd ever embarked on. Adult me now realizes that the experience brought me out of a haze that I had been in for a long time. I heard languages I had never heard before, saw places I had only read about, and would often think back to this time as one of the best of my life. Upon arriving home, I made a new association in my mind. Being somewhere else, somewhere grander, meant being content and a truer version of myself. When I reached high school, I was a member of both Key Club and Anchor Club, but these organizations created in my mind a shallow perspective of service, one that was heavily centered around image without providing any sort of lasting change. On the hunt for something more meaningful, I began to get involved with a local organization which served a weekly community meal, which gave me my first exposure to poverty in my seemingly wealthy small town. In November of my senior year of high school, after a particularly hard-hitting conversation with the local barista, I sat down and Googled gap year after high school. Without telling anyone, except Blake the barista, of course, I began applying to programs. In an effort to ease my parents into the idea, I applied to colleges alongside these programs so I could have my spot secured for the following year. My dad went to Sewanee, and after childhood filled with visits to the mountain, I began to assume that Sewanee was his place, and therefore could never be mine. After visiting a few times trying to imagine myself here, I decided that I can and would make it mine. I committed to Sewanee, but deferred my application until the fall of 2018. I had something bigger to do in the meantime. I spent the next several months with a host family in Centurion, South Africa, in the Gauteng province, working in a nearby school. The school was established in a township, which is an informal settlement typically home to refugees of neighboring countries, and this particular one was built on top of a landfill. I feel as if my time in South Africa was formative, but not in the way I imagined it would be. It made me question my religion, taught me how to stand up to authority in the face of injustice, and allowed me to build relationships across countless barriers. But more than anything, I became increasingly unfulfilled and confused about my place in the world. I knew I needed to carry this experience with me, but I wasn't sure how. This is when I remembered an email exchange I had the previous fall with Robin Hilly Michaels, director of the Bonner program at Sewanee. I was going to be somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean when the deadline passed, so from a sleeping bag on the floor of the Madrid airport on my layover, I submitted my application. My freshman year as a Bonner, I worked at South Pittsburgh High School College Counseling, Blue Monarch, and the Community Action Committee. I was spread thin and felt as if I was standing on the sidelines watching my new friends enjoying the Sewanee experience I had heard so much about. I was back in the state of complacent discontent that I had found myself in so many times before. I left South Pittsburgh High School and Blue Monarch and began getting more involved with the CAC, a food pantry in downtown Sewanee, my sophomore year. In addition to providing free groceries on the food-impoverished plateau, the CAC also offers bill assistance and hosts monthly community meals. Here, I felt like I was connecting with my immediate community. I met the family who lived across the street from my dorm. I met several generations of a family who had lived in the area for as long as anybody could remember. I ate lunch next to a couple, one from Germany and one from my home state of Mississippi, at every community meal during my sophomore year. Only by seeing through the town versus gown facade that had built up over decades did I begin to finally feel a sense of purpose in the community and a deep connection to the place itself. Sewanee made me realize that I was never truly content with where I was. I've experienced great joys in life as well as great sadness, but through it all I had my eyes peeled for the next best thing. This very search for the next best thing led me to South Africa and ultimately brought me to Sewanee and the Bonner program. But in these past 4 years, I have learned that I'm not going to be someone different in a different place. Instead, the Sewanee community and the Bonner program have taught me how to stop looking for better and how to invest in myself and my community to make what I have better.